The courtroom has a faint aroma of coffee and disinfectant. Newsmen whisper in the rear rows, their cameras poised like vultures waiting for life. The wooden benches groan with curious bystanders leaning forward, looking for scandal. At the eye of it all is Kody Brown, jaw clenched, eyes flitting towards the door every few seconds. He appears to be a man who constructed an empire spinning out of his hands, and only now sees that it's crashing more quickly than he can stem the tide. Across the aisle to him sit his 4 wives separately for the first time in years. No synchronized smiles, no collective front. Just 4 women with separate lawyers, separate lies, and separate scars. Christine sits straight-backed, calm on the outside, but her foot trembles beneath the table. Janelle avoids eye contact, flipping through her notes like she's trying to hide behind paper. Meri's eyes glisten, half heartbreak, half disbelief. And Robyn can't stop looking at Kody. She mouths something, silent, desperate. Maybe it's "I'm sorry." Maybe it's "Don't let them win." The case is no longer about love. It's about legality, morality, and what it costs to believe your family exists beyond society's laws. The indictment is state marriage law's violation. But under the documents is something more: betrayal, resentment, and a family that has been unbeknownst to each other tearing apart long before the state became involved. Christine was the first to break her silence. When the new law was made public, she would not remain quiet. She spoke to the investigators about what actually happened behind closed doors, about pressure, about hierarchy, and how love had gradually given way to obedience. Those few words set the case on fire. It was not just 1 man and 4 wives anymore. It was now a national phenomenon. Religious leaders denounced it. Talk shows discussed it. Supporters labeled it persecution. Critics labeled it justice. And through it all, the Brown family stopped communicating with each other. Weeks went by in stony silence until this morning, when Kody appeared in the courtroom and noticed that each of his wives had an attorney of their own. He realized then it wasn't state versus the Browns anymore. It was Kody Brown versus the world he created. Every secret, every promise, every moment of silence, they're all about to testify. Stay with me, because what comes next will change everything they thought was unbreakable. Years earlier, this same family was sitting around a wooden dining table, laughing, passing plates of food. Back then they believed love was enough to bind them through anything: poverty, jealousy, even public judgment. Christine had once explained, "We're stronger because we share love, not in spite of it." Time, however, had a habit of challenging even the strongest oaths. One by one the smiles receded, the laughs grew shorter. The wives caught glimpses of what love resembled when it was stretched too thin and shared too many ways. When the cameras arrived, they saw something different: how the world judged them not as individuals but as what they stood for. So when the law eventually came knocking, it did not merely challenge their marriage, it brought all the concealed cracks to light. Now that the judge sits, the room hushes. The trial has commenced. Kody's attorney rises, serene but assertive, stating the case to be one of faith, freedom, and family rights. But on the opposite side of the aisle, Christina's lawyer shoots back with a line that chills the air. "Your Honor, the case is not about faith. It's about control." Gasps circulate throughout the room. Kody's jaw sets. Robyn's hands shake in her lap. And for the first time, Janelle gazes straight at Christine. The first witness is about to testify. But before that moment comes, Kody leans forward toward his attorney and mouths something under his breath. The attorney nods, taking down notes quickly. Nobody realizes it yet, but that one whisper will change the outcome of this trial and the family's history forever. Because in every courtroom, truth isn't what you tell, it's what you can prove. And someone here is about to prove that love itself can be guilty. The first witness is called to the stand. The room stiffens as Christine rises, smoothing the front of her jacket with trembling hands. Her eyes don't meet Kody's. She walks past him without a glance, the echo of her heels cutting through the silence. She recites the oath quietly, her voice firm but low. The judge motions for her to sit. In the front of the room, cameras shift, pens poised above notebooks. For the first time, the courtroom seems intimate, like everyone's been caught on a shared breath. The prosecutor approaches. "Mrs. Brown," he starts, "you belong to this plural marriage for almost 20 years, right?" Christine nods. "Yes, that's right. Can you explain to the court why you waited until now to come forward?" She takes a slow breath. because for so long we told everyone we were content, that our family was founded on choice and on faith. But what no one ever saw was what it took to maintain that illusion. Her voice breaks barely. We ceased to be wives. We became symbols. Whenever one of us was suffering, we were reminded to smile for the cameras, to guard the family name. And I couldn't do it anymore. A muted murmur runs through the crowd. Kody glares ahead, jaw clamped, fists clenched. The prosecutor pushes softly. Ever feel in danger? Christine pauses. Not like people imagine. It wasn't physical. It was silence. Control. Being reminded again and again that escape wasn't possible. The worst wounds sometimes aren't the ones that make the skin bruise. They're the ones that show you how to be quiet. The defense attorney stands up quickly. Objection speculative, he says. The judge deliberates, then nods. Sustained. Let's keep it within the facts, Mrs. Brown. Christine nods, her throat constricting. The facts are that we thought love made us equal. But that's not what occurred. There was always one favorite, one voice that counted more. Her gaze flashes briefly toward Robyn. The prosecutor doesn't notice the look, but everyone else does. Robyn's face reddens. She looks away, shredding a tissue in her hand. Mrs. Brown, the prosecutor goes on, what do you mean by control? Christine leans forward, her voice slower now. When we questioned decisions, we were told that we were weak in faith. When we asked for space, we were told we were selfish. Every boundary we ever tried to establish was made into a sin. And after a while, we didn't ask for anything anymore. Her attorney puts a hand on her shoulder as she stops. The quiet hangs there, long enough that even the air pauses. Kody's lawyer then rises, advancing on the witness stand. Mrs. Brown, would you say you were forced to remain? You had a choice, didn't you? Christine meets his gaze. Free will does not equal freedom. It equals deciding between what hurts you and what kills you. Gasps once more. The judge raps his gavel gently for order. But tension doesn't dissipate. It only digs deeper. At the defense table, Robyn finally raises her head. Her eyes are brimming with tears, her lips quivering. For an instant, she looks as if she's going to say something, but she doesn't. She just gazes at Christine, as if seeing her for the very first time. Christina's testimony goes on, every sentence extracting another thread from the family's past. She discusses holidays spent pretending, family gatherings that ended in silence, and when she realized she was staying only because going would mean losing her children's home. Kody fidgets uncomfortably in his chair, mumbling again to his lawyer. The lawyer nods tightly. Then, just as the prosecutor is finishing up, Christine utters something that puts the room into ice. Before I left, I discovered something in our home office. A document. It wasn't related to faith or family. It was financial. The prosecutor's eyebrow rises. Can you be more specific? Christine nods hesitantly. It was a trust agreement. One that listed only one of us as the legal beneficiary to everything. Kody's head jerks up. Robyn's face goes white. The courtroom erupts in sound. Gasps, whispers, commotion. The judge bangs the gavel for order. Christine keeps talking above the din. That's when I knew it was never about religion. It was about possession. And love doesn't possess, it releases. Secrets endure years of quiet, but they cannot endure truth spoken aloud. The judge orders recess. Reporters push forward, the air filled with shock. Robyn just stands there, her hand still holding the tissue, as Kody looks rigidly ahead, his whole world crumbling before them all. Christine steps down from the witness stand and passes directly in front of him. This time she doesn't glance away. Their eyes lock for a full devastating second. And Kody finally whispers just loud enough for her to hear. You think you've won, Christine. But this trial isn't over. She doesn't answer. She just keeps walking. Outside, flashes burst like lightning. Inside, the silence feels heavier than ever. Because now everyone knows. There's more to this story than love on trial. And tomorrow when Robyn testifies, the truth won't merely hurt. It will annihilate. When court convenes the following morning, the atmosphere is charged, thickened, as if everyone senses a storm brewing. Reporters are already at the door, microphones in hand, cameras aimed at the entrance. Inwardly, Kody sits alone at the defense table, shoulders squared, face impassive. His attorney leaves through notes, But Kody isn't glancing at him. He's watching the door through which Robyn will soon enter. The bailiff requests order. The door swings open, and she stands there. Robyn Brown, once the unobtrusive peacemaker, the soft-spoken one who always attempted to placate the others. But now she is pale, her eyes red-rimmed, her lips compressed. She doesn't glance at Christine or at Kody. She simply moves directly into the stand. The clerk administers the oath. She sits, hands in her lap, shaking slightly. The prosecutor moves forward, voice measured, nearly gentle. Mrs. Brown, tell us about your involvement with the family finances. Robyn nods, her voice reedy. Kody left some of the paperwork to me. I arranged bills, statements, the trust documents. You know the trust named you sole beneficiary? She swallows hard. Yes. Was that your idea? Her gaze flicks to Kody for a split second only. He told me it was to protect us. That if the law ever came after us, someone had to be the legal face, the safe one. The prosecutor nods slowly. And you agreed? She breathes softly. I trusted him. An uncomfortable silence hangs in the air. The wives shift uncomfortably in their seats, and even the reporters pause from writing for a moment. The prosecutor's voice becomes stern. Mrs. Brown, did you know that this choice would exclude the other wives from their homes and property if the marriage were to end? Robyn's eyes flash quickly, tears brimming. I didn't think it would be that far. I believed we were one family. He said it was symbolic. There is always a moment in every courtroom where sympathy begins to turn. And this right now is the moment it begins. The defense attorney rises, buttoning his jacket. Mrs. Brown, you're saying you trusted your husband, correct? Yes. You didn't manipulate anyone. You didn't threaten anyone. You just followed the rituals of your religion. Robyn nods hastily. Yes. He smiles weakly, addressing the jury. Then this isn't deceit. It's devotion. A woman following the teachings she was taught. Having faith in her partner absolutely. Christina's lawyer stands. Objection argumentative. Sustained, the judge says. Robyn's breathing accelerates. I never intended to hurt anyone, she says in a rush. But I couldn't deny that I knew what it did to them. I saw the gap widen. I saw the hurt. Kody finally breaks his silence, his tone low but biting. Robyn, don't do this. She meets his gaze, tears spilling down her face. Do what? Tell the truth? You said everything would be okay. That they'd never discover anything. The courtroom rustles. The prosecutor walks forward once more, staring at Kody. Brown, don't speak out of turn. Kody relaxes in his seat, grumbling something quietly to himself, but the harm is already done. The jury has glimpsed the break firsthand. The prosecutor turns back to Robyn. Mrs. Brown, you mentioned he said they'd never know. Know what specifically? Her voice falls to a whisper. That the trust wasn't only about property. It was to put everything in his name through me. A collective gasp shatters the silence. The judge bangs the gavel for order. Robyn claps her hands to her face, weeping. The prosecutor comes closer. So when Christine found the document, she uncovered not only favoritism, but a calculated effort to keep ownership from the rest of the family? Robyn nods as she cries. Yes. But I swear I didn't know until it was too late. The defense attorney stands again, yelling above the chaos. Your Honor, my client is being emotionally manipulated on the stand, the judge interrupts. Sit down, counsel. The room falls silent except for Robyn's ragged breathing. She gazes up at the judge. I only wanted to make us safe. But I think perhaps we were never safe to start with. Truth doesn't simply divide people, it makes them decide which part of themselves they can live with. As the judge requests another recess, Robyn gets up unsteadily. She goes by Kody without glancing at him. He whips out his words once more, but she doesn't cut him off this time. She simply continues toward the door, her heels clicking loudly in the quiet room. Outdoors there are camera flashes. Indoors, Kody slams his notebook closed, his face contorting with rage and something else, fear. Because the next witness is not one of the wives. It's not the expected person. Someone who has observed everything internally, but has never testified before. The courtroom will never be the same after they do. The courtroom hums at recess, hushed tones whispering like a murmur beneath the surface. No one knows who the next witness will be. The lawyers whisper at their tables, the reporters update their feeds, and Kody sits stiff, his eyes fixed on the judge's bench as though trying to force the day to be over. Then the bailiff says the name and the room comes to a complete stop. Your Honor, the prosecution presents. A hesitation, long enough for a breath to catch Madison Brown. A ripple of gasps runs through the room. Madison, Kody and Janelle's daughter, advances, her face firm but her hands trembling. She's grown older now, wedded, self-sufficient, no longer on the inside with the rest of the family. She glances at her mother, then Christine, and lastly at her father. Kody's face goes pale. He didn't see this coming. Madison lifts her right hand, takes the oath and sits down. The prosecutor approaches cautiously. Brown, you volunteered to testify. Can you tell the court why? She nods once. Because I believe people have the right to know what happens when loyalty turns to fear. The prosecutor pauses for a beat before letting the words sink in. Can you clarify what you mean by that? Madison breathes. As a child, I adored my family. I believed in what we believed. But love and fear are much the same thing when you're taught that disobedience will get you sent to hell forever. We were instructed that we were chosen, special. But we were also instructed that nobody outside would ever get us. She quavers. I thought I used to think that it meant that we were safe. Now I think it only meant we were stuck. Kody edges forward, mumbling nastily at his lawyer, but the microphone picks up enough for everyone to hear the phrase lies. The prosecutor ignores him. Brown, he says softly, did you ever overhear any conversation about the family finances or assets? Madison nods. Yes. A couple years ago, I heard my dad discuss with Robyn transferring the deeds into one name. He said it was for safety. But he also mentioned something else, that the others didn't have to be told until it was completed. The courtroom buzzes once more. Reporters' pens scratching out. Christina's eyes are closed. Robyn's head is bowed. And how did that make you feel? The prosecutor asks. Madison glances at her father. It snapped something inside of me. Because I knew it wasn't about love anymore. It was about who got to hold the reins when the cameras stopped rolling. When kids begin revealing the truth their parents concealed, the tale no longer becomes about family, and begins becoming about legacy. The defense lawyer stands, attempting to regain the upper hand. Brown, you're a young woman with your own thoughts. Don't you think you could have misheard an adult conversation? Madison shakes her head. I didn't mishear. I recorded it. The words crash like a bullet. The room stalls. Kody's lawyer freezes, looking at his client. The judge leans forward. Are you telling me you have a recording pertinent to this case? Madison nods. Yes, Your Honor. I sent a copy over to the prosecution this morning. The prosecutor snaps a small gadget on the table. A soft hiss empties through the speakers. Then Kody's voice is heard through the courtroom. Well, put everything in Robyn's name. It keeps us safe. The others don't need the specifics, just need to think we're together. Gasps fill the room. Kody's face turns red. His attorney jumps up in an instant. Objection. This is a private family tape, illegally recorded. But the judge's gavel comes down with a thud. The tape is admissible. The witness was a member of the family. Go on. Kody appears to be a man coming apart. His breathing gets faster, his hands trembling as the clip continues. Then Robyn's voice, quiet but unmistakable. What if they find out? And Kody replies icily, they won't. They never do. The music is cut off. The subsequent silence is agonizing. Christine buries her hand in her mouth. Tears swell in Janelle's eyes. Meri remains fixed in front of her, immobile. Madison sits silently, no victory in her face, only sorrow. That's what destroyed our family, she whispers. Not the law. Not the cameras. Just the lies. The prosecutor nods. No further questions. The defense lawyer doesn't budge. There's nothing more to say. Truth not only ruins reputations, it liberates the people who've been living beneath them. The judge orders adjournment until the following morning. As the crowd thins, Kody sits silently, eyes vacant. Robyn wipes her face, but he does not glance at her. Outside, journalists yell questions, camera flashes, mayhem spills out onto the sidewalk. Inside, the Brown family remains in silence, fragments broken out among them. Tomorrow the verdict will arrive. But tonight, no one can shake the sound of that tape playing over and over inside their heads. And when the gavel comes down once more, not all of them will leave that courtroom the same individual who entered it. The last day of the trial unfolds beneath a gray sky. Rain lightly patters against the windows of the courthouse as individuals fill into their seats. The atmosphere is more substantial than it has been all week. Like everyone understands that when today is over, nothing in this family will ever be the same again. Kody sits rigidly at the defense table, dressed in the same black suit he's had on since day one. His hair is immaculately combed, his back straight, but his eyes betray his look of stoicism. They're far away. Vacant. The sort of expression a man wears when he's already lost something he can never regain. Across the aisle, his wives, no, his ex-wives, are seated apart again. Christine speaks softly to Janelle. Meri clasps her hands and glares at the floor. Robyn occupies the end seat alone, pallid and shaking. No one addresses her. Not today. The judge steps in and the whispers stop immediately. The courtroom is quiet, like the eye of a hurricane. The jury enters weighed down by every secret, every tear, every minute that has unfolded in this room. The judge asks if they've reached a verdict. The foreperson rises. "We have, Your Honor." The paper rustles as it's passed over. Kody's attorney gazes straight ahead. Christina's breath hitches. Robyn blinks her eyes shut. The judge reads. His tone is firm, almost unnervingly calm for what he says. In the case of the state versus Kody Brown, the court finds the defendant guilty on charges of financial misrepresentation and concealment within state marital law. A rush of commotion fills the room. Cameras flash. Reporters murmur. Someone gasps. Kody doesn't budge. He simply sits and stares into space. The judge goes on, based on the evidence submitted, which includes tape testimony and financial records, the court hereby sentences the defendant to a suspended term of imprisonment, restitution of property to all concerned, and required financial disclosure. The words ring out, but it's not the sentence that counts. It's what they signify. The law for the first time beholds what the family never could. That control, no matter how masqueraded, is not love. Sometimes justice does not resemble punishment. It resembles freedom. Christine breathes shakily, relief and grief wrapped around each other. Janelle buries her face in her hands. Meri is stone still, tears shining. And Robyn, she finally faces Kody, looking for something, perhaps forgiveness, perhaps understanding. But he doesn't look at her. Not even once. When the judge says the trial adjourned, the magic dissolves. Reporters dash out. Lawyers gather their files. The courtroom becomes a whirl of motion and noise. But the Browns remain seated for a long time, just filling their lungs with the silence they made. Christine stands first. She moves towards the door, her heels clicking softly on the ground. When she passes Kody, she halts. He gazes at her, his face furrowed and weary. She says softly, so that only he will hear. You might have told the truth earlier than this. Kody's voice is raspy. You wish to destroy me. She shakes her head. You did that all by yourself. And then she turns and walks away. It rains harder outside the courthouse. The cameras capture it all. The umbrellas, the flashes, the crying faces streaked with tears. Christine refuses to make a statement. Janelle accompanies her in silence. Meri melts into the crowd. Robyn stands lingering near the doors, observing Kody being taken away by his lawyer. Her face is indistinguishable, between guilt and sorrow. Kody pauses at the steps, ringed with microphones. They may take all this, he says softly, but they cannot take what we believed in. Christine, standing in the street and hearing him, turns and responds softly, belief is not love. Love speaks the truth. The crowd quiets just for a moment. Rain falls from the courthouse awning, hard and cold. And then it's done. One of them takes a different path, and another and another. No longer do their paths converge. Their fates no longer intertwined. What was once a family bonded by common faith and love is now a family defined by distinct truths. But somehow deep inside, perhaps they all know it had to end this way. Because love can endure much, but it cannot endure control masquerading as devotion. Love is love only when it allows you to breathe. The narrator's tone mellows, introspective, ebbed away like the final shot of a documentary. So, after all of that, after the secrets, the trial, the tears, what do you think? Was justice truly served here? Was it fair to put love itself on trial? Or did the truth cost them more than it ever should have? Tell me in the comments, because perhaps in the end love isn't innocent or guilty. Perhaps it's just human.